Rome was the most splendid empire in ancient history, but it started as a shabby city-state. Around the 7th century BC, it began to grow along the Tiber River in the center of the Italian peninsula. Rome, which was rapidly expanding by controlling the surrounding area, took control of the entire Italian peninsula. Then, beyond the Italian peninsula, they began to advance in the Mediterranean world, and the decisive moment was the Punic War with Carthage. Punic was Latin for Phoenician because Carthage was originally a Phoenician colony. The Carthaginians in Rome also called it Phoenicia. Carthage was a city-state in North Africa, located in present-day Tunisia. It grew by making a lot of money from Mediterranean maritime trade. The clash between Carthage, which controlled the Mediterranean economy, and Rome, the rising power, was inevitable. This clash was the Punic War, a great war in ancient world that took place 3 times over the span of 120 years. The first Punic War was fought over the island of Sicily to the south of the Italian peninsula. The island of Sicily, located in the center of the Mediterranean Sea, was an essential base for domination of the Mediterranean. With the west dominated by Carthage, Rome, which had ambitions, had made a decision. Before Carthage occupied the territory all the way to eastern Sicily, Rome tried to drive them out and take control of the Mediterranean Sea. Thus, the First Punic War began in 254 BC. At the time, the Roman army was the strongest in the world, and Carthage was the greatest naval power of its time. The first Punic Wars were fought at sea. The Carthaginian army had a lot of experience in naval warfare and had strong battleships, while the Roman army had little naval power. Surprisingly, however, Rome, which had backward naval power, won the battle. The secret weapon of the Roman army was equipment like the crow. At the time, the important things in ancient naval battles were attacking and hand-to-hand combat. First, the ram bow is a structure that protrudes like a horn under the bow of a warship. This ram bow was a way to hit the enemy ship and sink it. Second, there was a hand-to-hand combat method in which soldiers jumped over to enemy ships and fought directly with weapons such as swords or spears. It was believed that the Romans would easily win the battle if they somehow moved their soldiers to the enemy ships. So they built a fairly strong bridge to cross over to the enemy ships, and this was the crow covers. The usual method was lift the bridges up and drop the crows on the decks of the enemy ships as the enemy ships approached. The reason why it was called a crow was that it had huge horns like a crow's beak at the end of the bridge. When this horn pierced the enemy ships and secured the bridge, the Romans crossed the bridge and charged, crushing the Carthaginians. The First Punic War, which lasted 23 years, ended with a treaty in favor of Rome thanks to the simple new weapon called the crow. As a result, Carthage lost strategic points in the Mediterranean, including Sicily. Since the founding of the country, the Roman army, the strongest ground force, had been creatively developing its army by constantly fighting with neighboring tribes. Since it was a close combat force, the core weapon of the Roman army was a dagger called a gladius. It was only 60 centimeters long. In addition, Romans used a javelin called the pilum, which was also a single spear with a length of about 1.5 meters. Also, the Roman army's shield was called the scutum. So it was originally almost circular, but was upgraded to a large 1.2 meter rectangular shield. The scutum was an effective defense in hand-to-hand combat. The Romans also organized their formations according to the characteristics of their soldiers. The infantry-centered Roman legions were divided into heavy infantry and light infantry. The hastati units were assigned to the first line of the heavy infantry, which was new recruits between the ages of 25 and 30. They acted as human shields that drained the enemy's power in the front row. In the second line, 30 to 40-year-old soldiers with abundant combat experience, who were the main force of the Principes, were deployed. In the third row, the triarii was placed at the back. They were senior soldiers between the ages of 40 and 45 who had an auxiliary role, and at the forefront of the corps were lightly armed light infantry, called the velites, who were between the ages of 17 and 25. At the start of the battle, the velites company hauled pulleys from the front to disperse the camp, and when they fell back, next the hastati company threw pilums and advanced, fighting with gladiators. When they were pushed back or the most decisive moment came, the key force, the Principes, fought the enemy. However, if the battle was not over, the triarii company, which was now composed of the best, was sent in, and so on. In this way, the Roman army had a very systematic approach. On the other hand, Carthage was a country with an excellent ability to make money, but politically and militarily unstable. In particular, whenever necessary, they paid money to recruit foreign mercenaries. After the First War, General Hamilcar of Carthage felt that mercenaries were limited, so he decided to establish a colony in Spain and raise an army with the best training.